So the line is, don't subscribe if you're not an anime fan?
Yeah.
Recently, I had a podcast with Sy Huq, ওরফে সাইম হক, যে কিনা জাপানের অ্যানিমে ইন্ডাস্ট্রির ফার্স্ট বাংলাদেশি আমেরিকান ক্রিয়েটিভ এক্সিকিউটিভ। তিনি কাজ করেছেন জাপানের ডি আর্ট স্টুডিওতে। মজার বিষয় কি জানো? মজার বিষয় হলো আমি এটার সঠিক উচ্চারণ জানতাম না। পডকাস্টে তার কাছ থেকে আমি এটা শিখেছি।
So, can you teach me what is the real pronunciation of Dart Shotagio or something like that?
Yeah, so Shitagio is just studio in Japanese, right? So Shitagio, right? And then
Shotagio.
the first part is, yeah, and the first one's easy, it's D art, right? So D art Shitagio.
D Art Shotagio.
Yeah, exactly.
D Art Shotagio. Okay, great.
এই মানুষটাকে নিয়ে আর কি বলবো। তিনি হলেন 4 টাইমস অস্কার কোয়ালিফাইড ডিরেক্টর এবং প্রডিউসার। থিংস দ্যাট ফল, বয়েজ, দ্য স্ট্রেঞ্জার, প্যানোরামা, এছাড়াও ও অলমাইটি ওশিয়ানের মতো বড় বড় প্রজেক্টে তিনি কাজ করেছেন। টোই অ্যানিমেশনকে তো তোমরা সবাই চিনো। টোই অ্যানিমেশনকে চিনো না? টোই অ্যানিমেশন যেটা কিনা ড্রাগন বল, ওয়ান পিস, সেলার মুন এগুলোর মতো বড় বড় মাঙ্গার অ্যানিমেশন করেছে। তিনি এদের সাথেও কাজ করেছেন। 2022-এর দ্য জার্নি, এটার প্রডিউসার কে ছিল? ইয়েস, আমাদের সাই হক। এই প্রজেক্টটা ছিল জাপানিজ এবং সাইদি স্টুডিওর প্রথম কোল্যাব। অ্যানিমেশন এবং ভিএফএক্স এর ওয়ার্ল্ডে তার নাম খুবই পরিচিত। রিসেন্টলি তার সাথে আমি একটা দারুণ পডকাস্ট করেছি। পার্সোনালি আমি নিজেকে অনেক বেশি লাকি মনে করছি তার মতো এত হিউজ প্রোফাইলের মানুষের সাথে পরিচিত হতে পেরে। পুরো পডকাস্টটা ইংরেজিতে, তিনি বাংলা বুঝতে পারেন এবং বাংলাতে কথাও বলতে পারে, তবে তার অ্যাকসেন্টটা বিদেশিদের মতোই।
You understand Bangla, right?
Yeah, I took it.
এছাড়া ওরা পডকাস্টে অনেক বেশি মজা করেছি।
I know only one Japanese word, arigato.
It's all you need. It's all you really need. I can draw Itachi in seconds. Like,
Oh.
I could, yeah.
Great, great.
Itachi's like my favorite characters. I used to love drawing. I still love Itachi.
You can see Itachi, right?
Yeah, I see Itachi right behind
Itachi,
you. But
পুরো পডকাস্টটা তোমরা অনেক এনজয় করবে। একজন অ্যানিমে প্রডিউসার এবং ডিরেক্টরের লাইফ কেমন হয় সেটা জানতে পারবে। অ্যানিমে সম্পর্কে জানো একজন অ্যানিমে প্রডিউসারের কাছ থেকে। এছাড়াও তিনি একজন এক্সট্রিম নারুতো ফ্যান। তার সাথে মাসাশি কিশিমোটোরও ভালো সম্পর্ক আছে।
Definitely. And now our studio, Nartel and crew and everything, we actually have a very close relationship with Kishimoto Sensei. So it's like very, very cool to kind of be that universe. But yeah.
ইয়েস, নারুটো রাইটার মাসাশি কিশিমোটো। বুঝতে পারছো লেভেলটা? এছাড়াও তিনি অনেক বড় বড় প্রজেক্টে কাজ করেছেন এবং ভবিষ্যতেও করবেন। তার সাথে আমি একটা Q&A সেশনও করেছি। এমনকি তার কথা বলার স্টাইলটাও দারুণ। পডকাস্টেই তোমরা দেখতে পাবে। এত বড় প্রোফাইল হয়েও তিনি অনেক হাম্বল। এতক্ষণ ধরে কথা বলেছি, তারপরে তার মধ্যে বিন্দু মাত্র অ্যাটিটিউড বা অহংকার দেখি নাই। যারা আসলে সত্যিকার সেলিব্রিটি তারা হয়তো এমনই হয়। যাই হোক, এই পডকাস্টেই তোমরা একজন অ্যানিমে প্রডিউসার সম্পর্কে জানতে পারবে। যারা একটু বেশি আগ্রহী তারা তার ইনস্টাগ্রাম আইডি চেক করতে পারো, ডেসক্রিপশন বক্সে লিংক দেওয়া থাকবে। সো চলো পডকাস্টে চলে যাওয়া যাক।
Can we speak in Bangla?
I can. Bangla butchers but like my speaking is, I haven't been able to practice much, so my speaking is really bad. But I can understand 100%.
No. We will have a conversation, of course, in English, because I have seen so many interview of yours. You have speaking in crystal clear American accent. And
Yeah, it's Texan now, so it's gone quite the different path for sure.
Yes, I have seen you have achieved a lot of things at such a young age. But in my country, I don't know that people with skill and talent are always being underrated, and that's a very disappointing thing, because so many people know some so-called TikTok celebrity, but they don't know about you guys. That you guys are promoting anime in an international level, and you are just originate from Bangladesh, especially.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, overrated, underrated. I just work, I just try to make good stories. I mean, if I'm forgotten about my stories, things that I've helped worked on, if they live on, then I think that's what's more important to me. I think it's okay for the TikTokers and the influencers of the world. Their general line of business is to be known, right? So my job is less about being known, more about the stories be told. That's what I focus.
Yes, today we'll discuss so many things with you. I think it's your first podcast in a Bangladesh community, isn't it?
I would say, yeah. I mean, I've done a few like news segments, or it's like Bangladeshi news outlets have like covered me during my career, which has been really cool. Somewhat pull every Facebook photo I have.
Yes. I have
or
seen your interview on Jamuna TV while I was
yeah.
researching about you. They were featuring you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, some of them I didn't even know that they were making like segments or covering me. And some of the interviews I have been like reached out to, like Otaku and stuff like that. So like, I think they've it's been really cool coverage around the world and that cool thing. It's just cool to see the power of connecting around the world that I would have never had a chance to back. It's really
Yes,
cool.
yes, yeah. Especially it was a very proud moment for us too. That can see some Bangladeshi originate guy just walking on red carpet, giving a Hollywood interview, and we can see so many achievement. And
Thank you so
you
much.
know Japanese language, right?
I don't think I'll ever master it, but every day try to get a little bit better. Just more and more studying, benkyo, just trying to stay with it. But when you're living here on a regular basis and you get to use it more naturally, like everywhere you go and hear it more naturally, it's a little easier, I think, to pick up. It's kind of like every time I visit Bangladesh, it's the same thing. My Bangla gets better when I'm in Bangladesh, and then when I leave Bangladesh, I don't get to practice it as much. So then it just disappears. But I always try to. But
Maybe now you are living in Tokyo, right?
yeah, mainly in Tokyo. I go back and forth between like Tokyo, Los Angeles. Yeah.
I know only one Japanese word, arigato.
It's all you need. It's all you really need.
Yes, yes.
Look
And
at.
I am also planning to doing my masters in Japan. Japanese language is not very much tough, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an easy and welcoming language to learn. I think it's very warm in terms of like the respect that you can get from trying to learn it and trying it, even if it's not good in people's standards, which I don't think is ever the case. I think it's always good if you try. So it's a cool language to part.
Okay, so
So it's
let's
fun.
start from the beginning. You were born in Norway, right?
Yeah, in
And
Trondheim, Norway.
you are carrying Bangladeshi roots.
Yeah, both parents from Bangladesh. Exactly. Yeah.
So, how does it feel, and what's your thinking about Bangladeshi people or our culture?
I think it's a beautiful culture, one of the most beautiful cultures on the planet. I think, like you said, there aren't many that are covered in the entertainment space within that are Bangladeshi. There are a few, of course, and by now I've met many of them at the high level of creating too and collaborating. But I think it's a big opportunity for people to realize Bangladeshi culture, the roots of where it comes from, and the new roots in which are laid in terms.
Yeah, you have visited so many countries. I mean, Norway. You have also worked in maybe United States. You have studied in maybe University of California, Los Angeles, right? You have visited
Yeah.
so many countries. So, I mean, how does it feel that you have gathered experience from different country, different culture, different people?
I think it's a unique part of my, I guess, narrative DNA is that I've lived many places. One, partly seeing my parents try to find opportunities in the world and find jobs in the world and kind of advance their lives in different ways. And seeing that growing up is a very unique mindset that you pick up. I think that comes with a strong work ethic, and it comes with a strong yearning to wanting to do more. In terms of what you want to do and what this is. I think that's really important. Whether you explore mentally or physically, it's the same kind of definition of where you.
Yeah, I think actually it's a great way to character development or learning so many things from different people. And eventually, journey is always amazing. And I was just researching about you on Instagram, and I have seen that you just enjoy it. You just enjoy to visit so many countries, explore so many culture, and especially your involvement in Japanese culture was a great experience, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the best part is like I think a lot of people use tourism and vacations to explore the world, and I think it's a wonderful thing. But often you lose a lot of it trying to just stay within like the resorts or stay within like a certain type of tourism, which is just to explore in a short amount of time. But there's a different experience of trying to be exploring it and seeing it through the eyes of the local and how they see their cultures, and that's what I'm very curious about is how they see their cultures, how they see the universe. I think right now it's a very good question. And I'm probably thinking really deep into it, but I think the thing that people admire right now is there's a lot of chaos right now in the world. I mean, I think there's always a lot of chaos, but I think where
Yes.
there's a lot of find chaos in directions that we know and see and feel, and whether that's in the household, whether it's within your own life, whether it's within your community, relation to yourself, I think what happens is you lose a sense of peace, and it's that sense of chaos and stress that builds over time, and you don't really see it until it's too later until it's like surfacing.
You are the first Bangladeshi American anime producer, if I am not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah, there are so much, formal intro, but there are some people, especially my audience, are maybe under 18. They will not understand that, so-called creative executive or something like that. So I just making it easy for them. Anime producer.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's perfect. I mean,
I hope you won't
definitely
mind.
a lot of, sorry, say again?
I hope you won't mind.
No, I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind at all.
Yeah, there are some people in Bangladesh that they are just you're just living their dream. We all, especially on anime fan, we just hope to see in Japan in real life. Especially you are making animation, Japanese animation, anime. I think huge milestone, and so many Bangladeshi people, especially those who are passionate about it, can get so many inspiration from it.
That's amazing to hear. I mean, I think that's kind of the goal, right? Like I don't want it to stop with me. I want it to continue going for those that are interested in doing this. And yeah, especially in producing and writing in general and just creating in general within the animation space, and Japanese animation included. It's, anime has a very globalized format. It's in a place where people are outwardly proud to be animators, right? Like back in my time when I was watching the OG anime and I was growing up watching anime, it was harder to access it and you had to find ways to get it from public libraries or a friend who has a DVD, or Blu-rays that had come out. It was something that you cherish as a gem because it was something that you had to go search and find. And I think what happens today is that because there's so much that's accessible right away, you can watch anything all at once, which now makes it less of a search and more of a choice, and because anime is a choice now, it's become more globalized. People are choosing to watch it, they're choosing to relate to it, and now it's becoming part of their identity in a different way. So for me to be able to be a part of that, and for me to be able to be a part of the process of creating it and making it with the legacy studio like DR Shitagio, and help run these bigger operations and push for a bigger long form series that we're now and features that we're now working on, I think it's definitely a very surreal experience.
Yes, I have seen some of your work during I was researching about you, and it was just marvelous. You are not just only creating it, breaking it. Especially you are the 4 times Oscar qualified director, and
Right,
the
right.
first you have worked on the first black owned anime studio. I may spell it wrong. Dart Shotojio, maybe you just spoke of. Japanese language is so complicated for us, for Bangladeshi people. There's some accent, some pronunciation can be wrong. So can you teach me what is the real pronunciation of Dart Shotojio or something like that?
Yeah, so Shitagio is just studio in Japanese, right? So Shitagio, right? And then the
Shotajio.
first part is, yeah, and the first one's easy, is D art, right? So D art
Oh,
Shitagio.
D Art
Yeah.
Shotajio.
Yeah,
D
exactly.
Art Shotajio. Okay, great. Maybe it's the first black-owned anime studio, right, in Japan?
It is, yeah, in anime history, yeah, in
Yeah.
Japanese history and anime history, and it's considered a major here. Our CEO and founder, Arthel Isom, he's a very prolific, and I would say, in my mind, very treasured creator and director of anime. And so through the studio, we've done some of the more legacy pieces, key collaborations like we've made episodes for Star Wars, and have work in Netflix on Fury, and the Boys Diabolical. We have an episode for that. So we have a lot of key end-to-end animation that we've done, and then we've worked and many episodes for like One Piece and some of the legacy like JoJo's and Attack on Titan, have helped with animation there, collaboration sense, key animation cleanup, all forms of animation there. But it really takes huge teams to make this, right? So
Yes, yes.
to be behind kind of the strategic and creative aspect of of some of our newer anime long form series and features, it feels like a giant collaboration, right? And I think that's, you say it inspires others. It inspires
Yes.
me to just work with these artists, right? Because they're working so hard and just being pure genuine, guardians of the animation. And I think that's something I cherish.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. When I was just making a video about how anime made in Japan. It was a documentary video, and for that I have researched a lot. But before that, I didn't know about anything that how they made anime. And I thought, especially Bangladeshi people, just they just sit down with their having dinner or just watching anime. They don't think about how much hard work and passion it need to just create a single second.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
researching it, and I was just amazed by their work, that they are putting this much effort. They are not just effort, they are investing their time, money, okay, and everything they did just to create a single 1 or 2 second clips, and that's it. And we see the whole episode, 20 to 30 minutes, and the whole season. And my favorite anime is One Piece, Naruto. I'm a huge fan of Naruto and Luffy, but One Piece is so much big. There are maybe 1100 plus episode. Can you
Yeah,
imagine
yeah.
how much effort it needs just to create all this animation and stuff? And especially the fighting part may be more harder, right?
I think they're all hard in their own way. I think dialogue has its difficulties and action has its difficulties. I think knowing who's good at what is very important. Sometimes you get that perfect animation team that's a blend of perfect action, dialogue, perfect still. But I think it's correct. I think that it is a lot of work, and
Yes.
I think you can cover it more and more. Process is definitely the value of the anime studio, right? Like how it's made is different almost every studio, a little bit here and there, but there's common language of the roles and what's needed to make anime. And you just kind of fall in, those that are really good at what they do, they just fall into a good place where they to thrive. For me, it's communication of an artist, right? So as an artist, you want to be able to evolve and chase after this like elusive goal of fulfillment. Like what is it that will make you the happiest as an artist, right? So we draw, or as a writer, like me and fellow writers, we write and you just and you read it and then you're like, it could be better. Work on it and it can be better. Work on it, it can be better. You draw an image, it can be better. You sketch an image, it can be better. You add color, I think it could be better. You add more and more and more, and it gets to a certain point where now that picture is, and then you're like, now that's a good picture. And now you got to take that picture and then you got to figure out how to take that picture, recreate it 3,000 times to get it moving.
Yeah, now it's worth watching. Now it's worth watching.
Right. And at that point, you're not even there yet. You got to add compositing. You got to add aspects of it that make it. But then you got to add sound, and you got a picture, and then you VO. So there's different combinations of doing that where it then creates this live moving image. So you're essentially creating something from scratch, which is a totally different experience than live action, which I've also done. And both have its own magic, but both have its own difficulties as well. So yeah, it's an exciting process, but very, very much the top level of art, I would say, in terms of getting.
Top level of art. Saying about top level art, you are just a director and a producer. So we all know that to making an animation or there are different roles. So what types of job you actually do? Can you tell my audience about that?
Yeah, I mean, across the board, it's quite a bit. So I work both in the live action and animation space. So I started in the live action space as a professional screenwriter, and I wrote a few professional screenplays, and then got represented. Means I have my managers, my teams, my agents. You get those. You get your legal team, your lawyers, and you continue to create more. And I started to direct in live action, which meant that I got to do a lot of like running the sets and just really, most people know what a live action director does on films. I think quite celebrate role. And then I started to direct the things I wrote, short film scripts that I wrote that I started to submit into competitions that started to win competitions. And after that, I took everything I've learned and I used that to produce and help celebrate other artists that are also wanting to direct that I believed in their vision. Either I came across them on their sets or they've introduced to me in my early days of creating. So you really just kind of figure out who your fellow trusted creators are, right? And you go from there, and as you just continue to work, you just really start to create a village of creators and collaborators and artists that do roles and what have you. And there are different projects that I get to be different facets. So sometimes I'm a producer, sometimes I'm an executive producer, which is supervising the whole production, working directly with the director to create the vision and mold it into something that they trust I could work with them on getting to a stage where it can compete at a world level. And then sometimes as an executive producer, I even help take the film and I campaign it across film festivals, go from film festival with either the people that I know at the film festivals, that what kind of flavors that are considered excellent, their standards. And sometimes you get lucky enough to be celebrated enough or win enough, or win the right competition which gets us Oscar qualified, So there's that aspect, how to navigate the Oscar qualification, Oscar route of Space for Films too, which is like best in the world kind of stuff. And then in animation, started off really producing and producing just very heavily as a regional producer and working and developing concepts for studios. Working in when that development means is really just creating the idea, is creating the idea and seeing what the themes are, what the characters are. Sometimes I'm known to go very deep with my characters and show that there's a lot of potential with this certain intellectual property, IP as we call it. And then as a producer, sometimes I get brought into a project and the project is already in motion. And being a person that has already worked in anime, if you have the ability to put the right creators together, which is one of the hardest things, like the right director for this project, the right artist for the project, the right studio for this project, the right distribution for this project.
It's really a
Then
tough
you
job.
you just start to like executive produce the this whole package, is called in Hollywood, and give it legs. That's what gives it funding. It's not as easy as just being like someone has money and someone can just make something. It's really creating a 360 package of what will be needed to create a long form animation that can last and stand the scale of time. And then you start talking with the bigger studios like Sony. Then you sell to Sony, and Sony's like, okay, because you made something that you sold to us that we like, that communication is now open. So then I can always go back to Sony or back to the Netflixes of the world or the Amazons of the world or the Crunchyrolls of the world and talk about what kind of things we make at that level, now that they know that we make something that is at the standards of somewhat of excellence, right? We're always pursuing excellence. I'm always trying to get better and better at what we make. So that's really what I do at the animation space. And then now I've recently started on top of the development actually writing. So I got to take a lot of the writing skills I learned in the live action world and started writing for animation, which has been such a dream, which also opened up opportunities to work with those partners in the Japanese space to start writing my first manga, So that's been really cool.
It would be so great. It would be so great. I will be so happy if you just publish your own manga. I'll be so happy.
Well, I mean, there's one on the way. So I'm actually finished one of the chapters this morning. I was writing for Kodansha.
Oh my god, that's
So,
great. I didn't knew that.
I don't think many people know. I mean, I think it's because nothing's solid right now. It's just the writing phase, the conception phase. We don't have a locked title, but we know who the collaborators are, who my editors are, who I'm writing with as Gensaku, which is a writer for manga, and you're really just going from there. And it's a long process. It never happens overnight. It didn't happen months. It happened years. So yeah, and art and manga is a totally different form. But DR Stagio, like at DR, we also have a manga pipeline, so we're also producing manga there. So we have like one manga that I don't know if I can announce it. That's a big IP from a well-known company, and that manga will be coming out soon. And then we have a manga for our recent feature that we are working on, that will have a manga attached to the anime feature as well. So there's a lot of different work that's coming to the studio as well, because the show every manga, anime, features, and series.
So basically, you are putting so much effort. You are an director and producer, and you are trying to be a writer, publishing your own manga. So lots of work, lots of effort you have to. How did you manage your whole day plan? I mean, scheduling your time.
You just kind of have to. It's like your holidays and your vacation and your time for mental breaks have to be one. Like I used to always work, right? Like back when you're proving your grounds. Like I'm many years in this role. So back when in the beginning of when you don't have something big to show, when you're really trying to achieve that first big one, when you're trying to go get that first Oscar qualified movie or whatever it is, when you really, that's a long road, right? It's a long road to get started in the industry, right? Because so many people are competing at that space that are trying to show that I can make this, I make this. And then it doesn't get easier. It just, after you do that, then it's like, can you make that
so many
at a consistent level for the rest of your life? That's the next question. And can you do that now at twice the speed? And can you do that now? After that, can you do that now 2 times your capacity of what you usually do? So it always gets bigger and bigger and
3x,
bigger.
4x, 5x.
Yeah. So those that want to jump straight into like a studio film, that want to go and direct their first like Tron, they want to direct their first like big budget right away. I would say make your mistakes at the short film level. Make your mistakes and for both animation and live action. Learn all the hard things where there's less stakes. Because to make those mistakes at the high level, you really want another chance to make it, right?
Yes.
So
That's a
so
great
it
strategy, actually. Great
yeah,
strategy.
one step at a time, you know. So I tell people all the time, like you got to be patience is one of this. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and you got to have patience, and you got to take one step at a time. And in the beginning, that's when you really got to show. You know, you got to go full speed, and you still got to every single day. I'm not gonna lie. There's not a day we're not going full speed, but at least when you are at the studio level and you're with the studio or working with you or running the studio, what have you, with a good group of people that you consider good humans that you are proud of working with, as I am now with DR Stagio, it makes me really happy to every day, right? Then if you don't take a break, someone will make you take a break, which is a good thing, you know. I have Arthel will be like, "You're not working today," you know. I'm like, okay, got it, this is a weekend, like let's all, so it gives space for life, and then you try to figure out like a work-life balance because people in your company are also looking to see how you're working, so then they have some health in their life too, right? So work-life balance is very important, and even more important now because anime studios are progressing quite a bit in terms of trying to show how work versus life balance we can make for a healthy company. And then on top of all that, where really when you have those vacations that you have planned with your either by yourself or your significant other or what have you, you just dedicate that time as early as possible. So like that you got a vacation that you want to have planned in sometime in September or sometime in October, whatever it is, summer, winter, whatever season, that's the time you can't put a production, or you let the production know that's rolling into it that I'm not gonna there. And that's really how you have to stand your ground a little. But I mean, work-life balance is also like a
Important.
place, yeah, because you got to let your brain breathe too, right? Like there's a point where you consume a lot, and that's like early, I would say you're consuming content, stories, reading all the time, and then you have output where you're creating and then you can get into the good problem to have, which is you start creating so much, right? And you start creating so much that you haven't had time to consume as much. I still watch anime, but I don't nearly watch as much anime as I used to, because now
Yes,
we're
that's
focusing on creating, right? So there are times where you really just got to turn off both taps and find some space of inspiration elsewhere. For me, that's travel. For me, that's going outside of the box, and really disconnect. There's the concept in Japan is shinrin-yoku, right? So that is a lot of people in the TikTok era, it says shinrin-yoku is force bathing. It means like you bathe in the force, what have you. But really it means to disconnect, which means turn your phone off. So you can do that by not having to always force. Usually you would, but when you're in the forest, you're also not, dedication is to not phone. There are those aspects that you go away and kind of give yourself space, because then then when you come back to it, not only is your brain refreshed and you kind of pour some cold water on your what used to be a really hot brain that's been working all the time, but then you start picking from what you've learned recently and start embedding that in creativity, great, and that sees through the entire team. That feels gets to discuss that rejuvenate them. So for all those that want to be on the leadership side of creative, it's very important to make sure that you take care of your mental health, your brain, and your physical health too, because your body needs to be strong enough for your mind to be strong. We try to embed that quite a bit in our studio.
Yeah, absolutely. I think traveling is a great way to refresh yourself,
For sure, for sure.
you must have been that's producing, directing, writing, lots of pressure. So it's a great way, fresh yourself.
Yeah, you can never escape the pressure. Those pressures will always be there, and they'll be massive. They only get bigger as you figure out how to solve the smaller ones. They get bigger and bigger problems, and I always heard that coming up the industry, it's like the problems do get bigger and you have more to solve. But I never really understood what that meant, and I think if I were to talk about it, it would be that the problems and the things that you solve that get bigger are not just the ones that you don't see, because I think that's the obvious ones, because we don't see what we don't see. So when you come up, you're like, oh right, I never thought about that problem. Now I gotta solve that. It's the things that you have to face that you kind of have been avoiding a lot too. So like time management is it's natural for creators
Yes,
of all
that's
kinds,
true.
writers, artists, sculptors, doesn't matter what
Any profession.
any art form you're doing. I think time management is one of the hardest things to approach, because creative is a different brain. Creative is like you focus and hyper focus, or you focus on the abstract, and so you don't have time to worry about looking at your watch every 5 seconds, right? So it's a tough place to be, where you have to worry about time management. Then you got to worry about deadline, where what you get paid and how you get paid depends on how you can make the deadline, and then making a finished product. In the mindset of like an executive producer, like delivering a product on time requires so many other other people that have to deliver on time. So you have to manage their time as much as you have to manage your own, right? And
True,
all of
true.
that has to be intentional. So it's an intentional. You have to face the intentionality of scheduling your time properly. But in order to do that, I realized that you have to just get your skill set, your ability to create, and your ability of art at a level where you feel that baseline. If I were to just close my eyes and just spit out a story off the top of my head, that I know that at least would be not gibberish, but somewhat a form of mastery that I can mold, right? Where it's second nature to make good art. Then you can focus on even more on focusing on timeline of the art. So yeah, so that I think those are the bigger struggles, and those are bigger problems that you continue to face, and they're always somewhat related to time. And I never really realized that later in career.
Yes, people just watch your success story, your output, what you have created. They didn't get the struggle, hard work, scheduling, and so many efforts behind it. So that's an amazing thing here, that your hard work really paying off. 4 times Oscar qualified. That's an amazing milestone,
Thank you.
especially at this young age. Yes, I think your hard work really pays off. But so many people don't get it, that you are doing hard work. You are a successful creator. You are a successful artist. But there are so many people who have just failed, didn't make it, or able to forget about Oscar qualified. They didn't even get published it. So many failed story. So what's your thought about that? What if whatever you have done that didn't work out?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And when you look at it in a relative standpoint, I think we tend to make the mistake, and you hear this all the time, but it is very true, where we tend to focus on the successes of the world, and then we start to relegate and go back to kind of demonizing our own failures. But I think the answer that comes to mind for this is I've failed many. I think I've failed, you hear this all the time too, but it's true also, which is for every success, there are a million failures. I think that's
Yes.
so true. I think I've failed in horrible, horrible ways where you build something to a point where it even looks like it's going to be successful, and at the very end, it's not even your fault. The entire industry shifts, or the pandemic hits, or they're not looking at these stories anymore, or the story that you're saying that's celebrated, that everyone's really excited for, that it's funded by a certain type of financing that also loses its value as financing in general. Talk about the NFT world, when there were so many NFT funded projects. Now there's none, because that started to disappear. That NFT bubble blew up, and those that held on can hold on for longer, and hold on for value. And I think that's smart for the NFT side of things. But those big projects burned, a lot of big projects burned. And so there was a lot that are out of our hands when it comes to those failures. And those failures can get so big. You get that call where it's just show business, right? You get that call from the exec saying, I wanted it to work out too. I'm sorry it didn't work out. And then you hang up the phone, and you actually go into a state of grieving. The failures.
All
So
of your hard work has gone.
right, because there's small failures for sure, and I think those failures are great to learn from them. But we never talk about those big failures, the ones that took a lot of little careful. I'm not gonna drop it here. I'm not gonna fail here. I'm not gonna fail here. I tried everything. I did everything right. I tried to do everything right up to the very last second, and then it all fell apart. Those failures are hard. They've happened a few times. And you go through an actual stage of grieving. I went to, when I was talking to my therapist about this too, because my first film was about mental health, so it got me into wanting to save my own, and actually not say that, whether it's good or bad. I just wanted to know about myself, right? And the more I started to know about myself, the more I started to realize that there are stages of life that we go through that are related to the creative process, 1-to-1 ratio. Loss of your cherished project that you tried to bring to life felt like a loss of life almost, right? Where you just can't, you shut down. I shut down. People couldn't talk to me. They're like, what's wrong? And I couldn't tell them what's wrong, because I didn't know what was wrong, right? And then it would rain outside, and I'd just go on the street, and I'm running full speed, screaming off the top of my lungs, because I spent 2 years trying to make that project happen, and now there's no chance of it ever happening, right?
So
Those are,
true.
I've had that's happened. That's literally happened. I've screamed out in the rain trying to figure out what to do.
That's really
And then,
happened.
oh yeah, everything I'm talking about, these last few sentences, these are all true. Yeah, these are all failures that I've done. I'm not theorizing them. Those are real.
No, 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 no. Yeah, I can
You know?
understand. You're not present, but you literally just walk through the road, and just it's raining, and you're crying.
Oh, running full speed. My feet are hurting.
Oh.
Everything's hurting. Just screaming, crying. No one can see you because everyone's indoors. I'm wet, soaking wet, and just running full speed. Just not knowing or caring. It's just you're trying not to get hit by a car or something. That's fine. But I was on a sidewalk, so I was just just running full speed and just until I was exhausted, and then I'm just not collapsing, but like on my knees, just not just like holding my body on my knees and just like letting it all out. But I think what happens is when I emptied everything out every single time I failed, when I wouldn't bottle it in. When you empty it out, you can start to combat that with some good thoughts, and you can kind of say, okay, that's one that I'll have to unpack. That's one that I'll have to think about what went wrong. And then you come to the conclusion that honestly, like I'll say this line right now, really people and creatives especially will feel this, and you only can understand what this line means when it happens to you, which is why failure is necessary, I would say, which
True,
is
true.
you can only control the things you control. Because I think oftentimes we get so worried about the things that we can't control, especially in creative projects, and the reason why it's so easy for creatives to do it, including myself, is that in order to make something good, you have to make it personal. And in order for something to be personal, you have to be vulnerable. In order to be vulnerable, you have to empty out your emotions. You have to show parts of your soul that no one has seen before. You have to show parts of your soul that are you may be embarrassed about. You have to show parts of your soul that you really were afraid of facing for a very long time, and now you put it into this character or this scene or what have you. And then and then you create that and you write that or you draw that, and then when someone tells you that's bad, I don't like that. I don't think that's good work. You take that personally, and it's
Yes,
very
very
easy to
true.
take that personally, right? Because you're like, how could you that you're not insulting my art now, you're insulting
Mm,
me, insulting you. And I think that's one of the first things we have to get over is the way someone thinks, you can't force them a certain way.
it's
The
really
way that someone
disappointing. Really
yeah, you can't force them a certain way. So don't take it personally because those aren't the things you control. The things you can control are what about that note? What about that comment?
your
Did
next
they
step.
not make work, right? So you take that and you're like, let me make mine. Let me see how I can make mine more resonant with what I've already made personal. And those are the things you really can't just jump and bypass or or skip straight into the big leagues thinking that you've had that all solved. You really have to just work on your art until it is, and it will, and you will see yourself getting better once you start acknowledging that you are putting in an effort and controlling the things you can control and worrying about less about how someone's going to receive. So and you really that's how you learn is failure. Really is because if you everyone wants to be the born natural genius, right? Like where the first thing you make and touch becomes gold, and then everything you write after that or draw after that is gold, and everyone celebrates you for being amazing. And some people get that because they're raised around that community, they're raised around the right people, their mentors growing up were immense creatives. You get that passed down, and there's nothing wrong with that. But someone like me, like I didn't have a mentor growing up. I didn't have like a creative mentor growing up. Someone that was like, yeah, this is how you write. No, I had to learn everything myself. I had to, and then as you start taking it seriously, and then you're in school, you start having mentors that can see the level that you're at, and they're saying, okay, I can help you get to the next level. But you can't really get to that phase until you start really putting in your own time into learning that art and falling in love
You
with it
really
too.
work through this level, just no mentor, all by
Oh, of course.
yourself.
Now there's a lot of mentors. Now I have a lot of mentors. I think
Ah.
from college, I think even in college, my
Hmm.
undergraduate in English, I only have really one professor that comes to mind when it comes to changing my life towards dialing my creative energy towards cinema,
Ah.
right? Or the things you can screen. And that's because their favorite movie was like Leon the Professional. So they're like, oh, you want to write this thesis paper? You watch this movie. And I watched this movie, and then I started watching more of that movie and started watching more of the other movies and started getting, but I grew up with like watching Kurosawa films. I grew up absorbing many different things, but output, we're talking about output in this sense, the output of creating thing, at a certain level, you teach yourself. And then after college, when you start to really take it seriously and you're writing screenplays and you're just trying to get better and better and better, that's when I really started to take on like real mentors. Now, my mentors, I'm just immensely grateful that I have in my life. And they're mentors that you don't go to every day. You don't go to them with every problem you have. They're mentors at the level that they've done such incredible historical work, that you catch up with every few months to let them know how things are going. Sometimes a year or two, and you're like, hey, how are things going? And they tell you about their personal life, and you tell them about your personal life, and you're attached for life because you share stories with each other about your life, and you unpack those bigger moments that really start to tell them about, or if they see themselves in you in terms of mentorship, they'll start to tell them what they've gone through in their lives that you can learn. And I think that's really the power of mentorship at a certain. But I wouldn't say that I haven't gone through my whole career. I think that I've had mentors along the way, but I sought mentors. They didn't just fall in my lap. I asked, will you my like I you have to go really ask for it.
So, for my audience, it was not luck, it was completely your passion and hard work. All it takes. And what's stopping you to fulfill your dream? After hearing his story, I really get inspired, and I really get motivated underrated. Eventually, I think my audience will also love this story, and the taste of success after all of this struggle and the hard work you put into is the most amazing experience in your life, from my opinion.
I think there's one part of it. I mean, I think there's always some luck involved because I think you create luck. I'm part of that camp of belief. Is like I think you can definitely create luck because you can position yourself in the right place. You know this person that you really want. For example, mentorship, right? You know this mentor that you really wish could be your mentor is at this party, and it's not that you want to go up there and be like, be more mentor, and they're just giving a speech. Like how many people times do they get that, all the time? But really just like to be around that energy of them just giving a speech in the notes, right? And they're like, okay, that's great. If I come across this person years later, 10 years later, I would love to tell them that one thing you said 10 years ago, I learned from and I got this certain. I think that's what starts to blossom.
So it's all about the mindset, right?
100%. I would say one of the strongest points I've ever, and one of the best advice I've ever got is open yourself to magic. And what that means is I think a lot of times our mindset of like especially if like say you brought up failure, right? I think failure brings up, rightfully so, and very normal to feel that way, a sense of darkness and negativity, right? And you start to question yourself as, is this what I meant to be, do? But then when you get over that hurdle and then you start to realize but I just got to work harder. That mentality of negativity, if you keep that up, you'll start to realize that you attract negative. You start to realize you attract yourself to more of the painful moments. And I honestly think it's like a confirmation bias. I think we just pay attention more to those moments that could create more pain and more negativity. So we just invite that in. But if you open yourself to magic is kind of the way, I'm not saying actual magic, I'm saying the actual, I think the way I interpreted it was open yourself to serendipitous magical moments in life, which is open yourself to the ability of this path that you don't know where it's going to go. So you go down to see what it is. And then if there is a beautiful blue tree you've never seen in your entire life, and you say you are in a negative mindset, you could walk right past that. But if you were going down that path and you had a mindset to invite yourself to see those moments of magic around you that you take in of beauty and awe, then you won't walk right past that blue tree. You'll actually be looking up. You'll be looking there and be like, oh wow, I could have missed that. Could have missed this beautiful tree that I could have sat under and just felt the wind for a little bit and just had a moment of halting everything in my life and just pause on my life to just pick up what's present around me. I think we walk past those moments if we have a mindset of negativity. But if we open ourselves and say that we are inviting those kinds of positive optimism, you start to look up and around you and start to appreciate those things in the moment. I think you start to forget and you start to walk past not the blue tree, but those negative moments. You start to ignore the negative things you can't control, like we talked, right? You start to stop looking at, you just stop looking at the things that are negative, or other people. That's another thing. Other people that are negative, they don't even start they can be like this and this. What about this? Aren't you afraid of this? Aren't you afraid of this? And for some reason, when you've now opened yourself to kind of look for the light in all things, the negativity doesn't hit you anymore. That's a cool place to be in life, where you're not even on their frequency. You're way above that. You're just like, wow, I see that you're projecting my way, and I see that there's some anger there, but I hope you figure something out that gives you some positivity in your life, because that I can see the pain you're in, I can see the suffering you're projecting, but that's not affecting. And then you move past that, you continue to just create that kind of mentality. And I think that's a really healthy mindset too, because you often hear that in order to attract the love that you deserve, you gotta love yourself that same way. It's the same with life is the same.
But it's a complex way, and so many people are not even aware of.
I mean, in terms of like logistics, I think the difference is how you act, definitely. I think that's like the result of the mindset, right? So like I think it's really easy to note a mindset based on how someone acts. I think kindness is a great indicator of a healthy mindset. I think humility is a great indicator of a healthy mindset. I'm trying to practice that. It's hard with these interviews. I'm just playing. But I think that I think kindness, humility, empathy, I think these are all indicators of strong, positive, optimistic mindsets. You'll start to realize there's a magnetism to it too, that people would rather hang out with the healthier mindsets than negative mindsets. I think that there's a trend in the world today that alpha mindsets have like a really strong thing to emulate, thing to be a part of, to be back. When you go through your life and you realize that those people are kind of just stuck. They're confident and they're comfortable, but they're only confident because they are just great at where they are. They'll stay that way for 30 years, and then you start to realize that you don't want to be that way for 30 years. I think you start, and it's okay to, time is relevant as long as you need to get to that conclusion. But when you start to embrace that world around you and you're kind to the people around you, and you start to have a sense sense of tolerance and forgiveness, you just start to take every step a little different. You start to act, you start to walk different, you start to just be, a more calm and collected person. And then evidently your art changes. Your art gets, there's an actual boost in your art form too. You don't really hit writer's block anymore, artist block, because you're not really, I think a lot of times when you hit block, it's like an end of inspiration. It's an end of valuation of yourself, but the moment you open that up again, you start to kind of be like, oh, that story was really interesting. That book was really interesting. That painting was really interesting. That flower was really interesting. That line was really interesting. That tone was really interesting. And then you start to be like, that could all come together into a scene. And then you write and you try to create that scene. And then that scene turns into another scene, which turns into another scene, which then turns into a sequence, which then turns into a number of sequences, which then turns into an act, which then turns into 3 acts, and now you have a movie. And that's how you create a feature.
Greatly explained. Actually. So overall, what's your perspective on the if someone want to be really successful in their life? So if you just as example, you can say about myself. I am an anime YouTuber. Most of the people want to be rich, but there could be a good reason for that. Helping your family, supporting your family. Maximum of in our age, middle class family belongs to middle class family, and they had a big dream. So the environment matters really. It really matters, the environment, the people, their family. They just play a big role in your life. So what can I do? Be a successful, just be a millionaire like you, or support my family, serving country. Just something like that. My family would proud of.
I think the first question, and yes, I think I'd be remiss if I said that environment didn't matter. Environment definitely does matter, and there's circumstances in which you were raised, and the circumstances in which you were put in, the cards that you dealt, they definitely do matter. That's true. At a certain level, you want to give yourself and change the world around you, and try something different, and try to put yourself in a better place where you can chase after what fills you. But I think it's less about the destination in terms of where you want to end up. I think simulation of thinking about that, manifesting it, all of that is very true. I think definitely have a model in life, chase after, and then you shoot for that, and maybe you land somewhere else, But recently I've been really thinking about it, what it means to, I get this all the time, like, what is the end goal? What is the end goal of where you want to be? And ultimately, I think the ulterior motives, as grand as they are great. But I think what really comes down to is fulfillment, because what happens when you chase something that is as big as, I think it's a very valorous idea to take care of your family. I think it's very valorous to have comfort and unity, a powerful thing. But to understand how to get there, you have to also ask yourself what will fulfill you as a person, right? And I think, for example, when you said you want to be a millionaire, I think that's a great mentality to have. I mean, I think it's materialistic. I think whatever it is, your goals. Who am I to tell you that it's not, right? But ask yourself what enables amongst that, in that dream, take it one step further, that creates fulfillment. Is it the comfort of your family? Is it that everyone around you isn't worrying about this that you had worried? Is it that you don't want others to feel the same pains that you, trials and tribulations that you were going? Is it that you just want to be in a place where you don't have any other worries but to do the thing you've wanted to do? And if that's the case, then what is that thing? If that is the case, and what is that goal? What is that? Because I think that's the answer. That's the closer indicator of what will fill you. And dialing into that may get you. You want to be a millionaire. Maybe millionaire is not enough. Maybe you aren't sure. You're sure not enough. Maybe when you are chasing after the thing that will fill you, when everything else isn't an issue, may get you $1 million easily. Because now you're chasing after that bigger thing that is now seen as ambitious, seen as almost impossible for most, but you were trying to do it. You're getting your friends together and putting together, you have those Makoto Shinkais of the world that are literally just doing animation straight from Adobe Premiere, Adobe Suite in their house, and they're doing their first short films with their only currency, which is time, and obviously they're happy for animation, but they're painting.
But did you know that in Bangladesh there are so many people don't even have a proper computer?
100%. That's exactly what I mean, right? That's 100% what I mean. So that's why it's not good. It would not be good for me to deny environment at all, because I think that didn't, especially those that without the resources of a computer, without the resources of getting to Makoto Shinkai, for sure. But maybe even trying to get paper, right? Maybe trying to get paper and pencil, and then creating 1,000 cuts yourself, And then if you have a cell phone, taking a picture of that paper and every single thousand cut yourself and trying to put it together with the apps you have on your phone. And if a phone is hard enough, then trying to put it together into a book format and try to create your first book out of paper at a very basic resource too. But whatever will get you towards the emulation of the fulfillment and trying that and then doing that over and over again and doing that at a level that creates some sort of improvement, I think is the first ambition. But like I said, it doesn't. The hardest part is the circle. I think that like you said, like if getting the wealth or getting some sort of earning the currency to get the computer first, or earning the ability to get those first tools to get to that first step is the first step, right? And I think that's really what's really, because you're definitely right. I mean, I think having a computer is a huge privilege. It's a huge blessing. Back when my time when internet wasn't even a guarantee, right? Like where we had to like dial in, dial up, and dial up itself was like every minute, every second counted, right? So and it was in the computer at the recreation center or wherever it is for anybody. It's like not a computer that you own, but a computer that's shared by a community. Because it was so scarce. We were drawing comics. I couldn't afford Rival School, but when Rival School the game had come out, I wanted to make a comic on the character. So me and my friends at school drew very basic comics of Rival School characters fighting and and that's where I think the first story really, essence started, was like, and then started to figure out how I would try to get my first, something, selling candy, like trying to take, say, not eat the candy that I got for lunch.
That was your first income.
Yeah, I would say my first income was scanning. It was scanning paper, and I was scanning photos, and I would be paid cents for every photo that I would scan. People would like, back then you couldn't just like digitize your photos. You couldn't go to a shop and digitize it, so I would get paid to scan photos, like people's like old school photos. And then you use that, and then you create then you start dealing candy in the school. People, you realize that the first person that knows that they can use their lunch money to buy a candy bar from you can now buy another candy. And then you just kind of earn money that way, and then you start doing odd jobs. And I was an odd jobs person. Then I started work. Then I got my first job at a clothing store. I worked in retail, folding jeans. Then I went from folding jeans to being a valet at a large hotel and trying to drive other people's cars and park them and run and all that jazz. So I think you just fight. You just keep fighting.
The struggle was real.
Well, I mean, I think struggle is relative. I think others have definitely struggled more. I would say I still was privileged enough to be in a situation, a job that's hard enough today. So yeah, I think it's for me it was hard, but I think for others it would be something that people wish for, too. So I don't ever want to say that it's a struggle, more of a search, a search towards some sort of direction. Because even back then, I didn't know. I didn't have a dream of being this. I didn't establish in my mind that I wanted to do this one day. I would love to save people a lot of time, and if they see producer or a director or an animator as a career earlier in their life where they can focus on their time towards that way, I think I would be saving a lot of people a lot of time. Where versus for me, I had no direction. I had to just feel. I had to taste every spice to see which one I liked.
Works better, which works better.
Yeah, which one I like more, which one was hard for me, which one was I didn't enjoy it versus the pain that it was, and just understanding that kind of lifestyle is a constant state of search, constant state of just trying new things, and you often get lost quite a bit. I'd quite lost trying to figure out what I want to do, but it'd always be related to storytelling in some way. I always knew that it's somewhere in storytelling world I wanted to do something like that, because that always felt nice. But yeah, no, of course, there's a lot of struggle we have to do to get to a certain point, and circumstances always create a hard path to get there. But for those that have a lot of struggles that have to really do a lot of work, I also think that's a blessing at a certain, because I always tell people that are under a lot of that are struggling in current that if they dream about being in a certain place and they finally end up 10 years, 20 years, however long it takes to finally get to that place, and then they look back at what it took to get there, they have so much to pull from creatively to create better art, create more things that they can strive off, because then that's their story. They have an actual story to tell, versus those that have spent their whole lives just watching movies and that have resources to have as whatever movie they want to watch, they owned it, right? Wherever book they want to watch, they owned it. Read, they owned it, right? Then their DNA, narrative DNA, is just an amalgamation of all the things that they've liked, that they've read or watched, which is great, and then you can really emulate a good style that way. But those that are pulling personal, those that are pulling from aspects that are untold in the world because that's their story, that is quite a powerful thing to have. have in the back pocket, the world of storytelling.
Yeah, there was actually a great quote. You are what you are consuming, whatever you are eating. So in modern days, it's the content. I didn't reach my final goal. Maybe I have just reached maybe 40% or 50% of my goal. Even with that, I am living someone's dream life. Some of my subscriber or when I had a live Q&A session, they asked me that how to be a successful YouTuber like me. I didn't started anime channel just for fun. I intently started it to grow the anime community and also to earn money. Honestly, okay,
Yeah.
my final goal was to earn money through YouTube. I give more time and put more effort on it. Then I just thought that's not enough. That's not making me a millionaire. So then I thought that I have to create a digital agency or something. I had a skill on digital marketing, especially in the COVID-19 pandemic period. I got a huge time. I think that time was a life changer for me. I got a huge time. Most of people just wasting their time watching movies, anime, or just scrolling their phone. At that time I was doing so many courses. I was researching on YouTube is a free platform, no money, just Wi-Fi, and that's all. I didn't know what should I do. I only know that I have to be a millionaire, I have to be rich. So I started anime channel, and that's working on. But now currently I am focusing on just migrating on another country, because Bangladesh has so many limitations. We don't have PayPal. We don't. Recently there is a news. Maybe PayPal came through Bangladesh through Starlink, or maybe Google Pay. Google Pay is coming to Bangladesh. So lots of opportunities are coming. But I think that's why I told you the environment is so much important. That we don't have proper environment to be a millionaire. To be an entrepreneur. My family's mindset. Are you getting bored?
No, no, no. I'm so interested. Honestly, I'm eating it. Yeah, please keep going.
Thank you. My family, they are just both of them are government employees, and they also want me to do a government job. They don't like entrepreneurship. They just want me to do a secure job. Get a first class government job and enjoy your whole life. But from my very childhood, I always want to be entrepreneur, because doing a government job will never make me a millionaire. At the retail life, I will get maybe 1 or 2 million taka, maybe taka. Okay, that's not make me millionaire. I have to be a millionaire at before 30. So I just want to work on a different path, and that was very struggling. And my parents don't know about the YouTube too much. They don't know about content creation, anime, and stuff like that. So that's how it works. That's how it works. And most of Bangladeshi guy living this life. I have got much more privilege than them, because from class 2 or 3 maybe I got my own computer at home. Most of them didn't used to get that. So I get that privilege. I had my food, I had Wi-Fi, I had my own room. Most of people are homeless, and for that, and that's a reason I want to be a millionaire. I want to support this type of people. It don't look like this, that they don't want to do the hard work, but just they don't know what to do. They just don't know how to escape this, how to escape this route. So that's why my end goal is to become a millionaire and support all of this youth development. And for that, I am also planning to doing my masters in Japan. Bangladesh has a great political relation with Japan, so maybe
Yeah,
it's,
there are a lot of Bangladeshis here in Japan too. But I mean, I think what you're doing and your mindset is very strong. I think that's if I make a note of that, it's very noble for you to want to be better, and you want to better yourself for the sake of those around you. And I think that's it's hard enough to worry about yourself. It's hard enough to find your way out of the situation that you're currently in, and that others are currently in as well. And life is like that. Life is just such a different formula for everybody. So it's really hard to answer what is the formula for success at a general sense. But I think you're doing the right thing by paving the way forward for many that watch your content, many that support your content. I mean, you're doing work in spreading word about anime, and you're really creating a form of unison, a community for those that watch anime separately on their own time. And connection is hard. Connection is a really hard hard thing to do. But you're making an additional extra effort to create that and create that bridge and create different opportunities for yourself to come back to that community that you're thriving. So it's a very noble thing you're doing. I don't, and it's not easy. It doesn't sound like it's easy. It sounds like it's very hard. It sounds like you worked really hard, right? So I think that aspect of your being is something that shines really brightly. I see that, and I hope that you continue to keep that part alive always. I think your possibilities of what you can do and what you will do will only get better, and you may even give you more ideas and even have a different idea of what you want to do in your life at a certain point where you realize that you can do anything, right? But to get to that, you are trying so many different things, and I think that's a really powerful thing. So really don't let that go. Keep that strong.
Thank you so much, sir. I actually did not open up, this much, explaining my dream, childhood story, and that. But somehow I don't know why I feel so much related to you. I feel that's so comfortable. Yeah, that's a simplistic thing, the vibe matching. I think I can share a story with, and
That's all.
and that's true.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
That's what you want. You want. I mean, I think people have a weird obsession to be able to be the other, be able to be like the guy on stage that people can access or what have you. I think my accessibility of how people can reach me is really a limitation of how much time I have been able to give to things outside, because otherwise it's either I'm talking to the world or I'm trying to make something, right? And right now I'm trying to still prove myself as well. There's still a lot I got to do, and a lot of stories I got to write. But for me to be able to connect in this way, I just want to be able to also prove to myself that this is not about that. It's not about being the other. It's not about being the guy on stage. It's for me to be that person that can always have a conversation with those that are loving the same things I love, right? And that really doesn't have a time or space limitation to it. So I'm glad you feel that way. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I was just researching about the whole anime community, Japan, and I found you. I didn't thought that you will accept my invitation, and that was a best thing I have ever achieved as an anime YouTuber.
That's great.
It's
That's
the
amazing.
best achievement for me that I am talking to an anime producer and who is originated from Bangladesh, and I hope my audience will also loved it.
I mean, when it comes to connecting with my fellow Bangladeshis, the lovers of the anime community, especially in Bangladesh, I think that to me is a super beautiful, right? Like, my first project that featured The Journey was like a project where it was the first like Saudi Japanese anime feature where it was really connecting those bridges, right? And I got to see the cultural divergence between and the effects that it really made, and it showed kids that they can express themselves in cool ways, and to know that that's also happening in Bangladesh and being accepted and veered in that way too is so super cool for me. So when you reached out, it was just a natural form of wanting to connect again. But it's crazy though, like when I shot my documentary in Bangladesh in Chagonaya out near Feni, it was like tracking my father's story when he was a child during the 1971, and his stories of survival, and the whole goal was to do an animation kind of form of just a child's story, a kind of Grave of Fireflies type, energy. And I was connecting with a lot of the kids in the Gram, right? And even today on my Instagram, there's still few kids from the Gram that still talk to me on my Instagram.
That's great.
And they're like, and it's like not a big full blown conversation like we're having. It's very wholesome. They just say, "Hey, hi, how are you doing?" And I'm like, "How are you doing?" And then that's it. I don't hear I don't. But if that's cool and they want to reach out, and this has been happening 21, so like for the last 4 years, they just been saying hello, and I just say hello back. That's enough to just stay connected. And sometimes I get a conversation of like, what can I do? A question of like, what can I do to? Is there any books you'd recommend? Like what and I would just kind of research like what kind of books level they're reading, like what kind of books you're reading now, and then they're like that, and I'm like, oh cool, then try to read this one. So that's like there's not much of a transaction, but it's more of a communication, like I think it's you say you're honored. I think it's equally, if not more of an honor for me to be able, because that's not a gift that many have in this industry. I think in this industry, especially because you have many creators that are alike that know the way things are and know the way that stories are made or know the anime format in general for decades, right? But for Bangladesh, if we've now that we're really getting into it, and we have been probably for decades as well, we should celebrate that. We should use that as a form of, we should use that as a way to unify a community out there. So I love that. I love the fact that we're getting to celebrate this with this conversation.
Yeah, is there any possibility that you visit Bangladesh time or in future next 1 or 2 years?
I think that'd be cool. I mean, there's my plan is shifting like tectonic plates under the earth. I can't predict when the plate is going to shift. I'm just kind of following my timeline of my productions as kind of the way to go. Right now, I think there's a little bit more freedom when things are starting to come out, but we're like in full scale production right now, so it's just full creation mode, just trying to make things, work, and the days are long, and the calls go on, and they're back to back. But I would love to. Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great if I could find a way to do that, or if there's a convention or something, go support. I'll figure out.
Yeah, that's great. Not only get the knowledge and experience from you, I also get motivated to do something big in my life,
Yeah.
and maybe my audience will also get motivated from your story, and it's really an inspiring story. I heard in the documentary, I don't know it's true or false, that from your childhood you want to be a storyteller, you want to be a scriptwriter. The documentary foreshadowing this, that you want to be, and from this to an Oscar qualified director and producer. That's a huge milestone.
I think it kind of looking at it, I think, I don't know if, growing up, if, as a kid, if I was like, because there's no one in my life that was an artist like that, right? There's no one in my life, like, I'm not in a family of like a bunch of writers, I definitely have writers in my family that write, but no one that's like, you should be a screenwriter or anything. Like, no one has ever said that, I think I fell upon that, when I learned what it is. I think today that's very possible because our access to information is a lot more than back then, but I played with toys, I had action figures, I made my own stories, all my actions were always broken, I drew comics with my friends. I played with them after school. We would like make up stories and act and do theater just in this, in the middle of a grassy plain backyard of somewhere. Lots of lessons learned, lots of fights, lots of, I was never an innocent, fully like, there's a lot of lessons in life, trying to figure out what to do and how to be a person, and or a good person, if I may try to be that. And I think it comes with a lot of different dreams. I think it's okay to dream many things at the same time. I wanted to be an engineer to some. Now that's in my writing. I love sci-fi and the technical aspects of mecha, and now we've made mecha animation.
Yes, mecha animation. Yes, I have seen the trailer. It was great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so a lot of it has to do with some of our dreams that we did end up becoming, but you put that into what you do because that's still things that you love, and I think no one, I can't predict that for myself. Like some of the worlds that I'm in right now. Like I was at Star Wars Celebration representing Diarstagio, and we screened our episode, the pit for Star Wars, and I'm like, we're showing Star Wars that we made, and I never thought that I would ever be in the Lucasfilm family. I never thought that I would be making Star Wars or showing Star Wars to fans, connecting with. That's not part of someone's normal plan. I think they should be. I think you should really aspire now. I think those that are listeners should be like, yeah, we should work for Star Wars. I think that's a great way. I think every Bangladeshi should try to work for Star Wars. That way, Star Wars would be like, let's make a story about Bangladesh. Like whatever. But either way, what it means to me is that international outreach of these stories, and the reason why they're universal is because the characters in specific might not represent the actual person, but their stories and what they've gone through may resonate really deeply with those that watch from Bangladesh. Or so I think that's kind of, I like to say all the time, I'm on a boat and my sails are open. I have no idea where the wind is kind of blowing and what direction it's taking me, but I want the wind to be blowing at least.
Yeah, of course.
That's kind of the goal, so I think it's okay to dream many dreams and see where it goes. I never really attached to the idea that you should just be one thing and just do that the whole time. That's definitely not my story, so I don't know what that's.
So you have shared your story and so many that. So what's your thought about the future of anime industry, maybe next 10 or 20?
Yeah, so anime is, if you asked me this question 5 years ago, I would say that anime is on a current trajectory upward trajectory, and it's going to be globally known internationally. It's celebrated internationally. That's already happened, right? And I think the pandemic had a lot to do with it. I think during the pandemic, there was a lot of people that had the ability to watch more things all over the world. And then we started to celebrate and give awards and wins and accolades and acknowledgement to international storytelling in general, to the point where, you have great filmmakers from different nations that are on the world stage. One of my colleagues and who have been able to work with at a capacity is Nuhash Humayun from Bangladesh, and he's a good friend of mine, and he's helped me out as well. And I think
That's
people
true.
forget the power of animation. Animation itself, yeah, it could sell a lot of box office, but the real power of animation for the studio world, and this is my producer mindset, not the creator mindset, is that you can sell more license. It's called L&M, license and merchandise, and sell more brand and merchandising from anime than live action. Why? Because if a character in live action is excellent and is widely known in a live action, you only a few people that are going to wear that T-shirt with their face on it. You only have a few people that can identify,
Yeah.
with that character for the rest of their lives. Anime happens every day.
Every day.
Happens every,
True,
and it
true.
happens in multiple shows every season. You have the robots, you have the bears, you have the thing. It's just attached to people's identity. It's on their backpack. It's on their cell phones. It's on their wallpapers.
E-
Every aspect.
Eventually,
In order
their eyes, dojutsu and something like that,
Yeah,
power,
it's
so much popular.
exact. It's changing. It immediately changes the fabric of someone's fanhood and the popularity of it along with it. Where in order to end up on a wallpaper in someone's phone for a live action film, you got to be Interstellar. You got to be a movie. You got to be a cult classic. You got to be a widely accepted crazy plot twist moment for M. Night Shyamalan that had ended up that people have rave reviews, hit zeitgeist, go all over the world, and then you might end up on a wallpaper of someone's phone. I can release Dandadan season 1 with a really cool opening, and people
হ্যাঁ,
watch that every single episode,
হ্যাঁ,
have it as their ringtone, have it as their wallpaper, have it as their binder when they take it to school. One season. That's it.
I have seen so many animated. I was just scrolling on Instagram, and every year dan da dan. Yeah, that's really true.
And it's because I got the question of why that is, and the answer is really easy to me. When I grew up watching anime, and I grew up reading manga, and I grew up trying to make it myself, and failed many times, and tried to write my own stories. I knew that what I was attaching to when I was watching Akira, when I was watching like Darker Than Black and the OGs and Pat Labor, I would see myself more easily as that character riding in that Gundam, riding in an Evo suit, than if I saw someone that does not look anything like me, that does not talk like me, that does not have my values, that has a completely different set of circumstance, that is riding in a suit in like Pacific Rim or what have like Pacific Rim is pretty diverse, but I'm saying that like stories that try to replicate that, where if I see that character and I know that it's fully not representative of me or my culture, who it is, then I don't really relate as much. I don't remember dreaming about being super right, but I dreamt about being like in a Gundam Wing. I dreamt many times being in Gundam Wing, Gundam Heavy Arms. I dreamt of many times having to happen upon a really cool story where I would have to be in a super assassin like Darker Than Black. I've dreamt many times in being like many different anime circumstances that don't hopefully end tragically like many anime do, but that don't directly represent me, but I could see myself in those shoes, because in animation you can imagine yourself. So I think that's why anime is so widely accepted and globalized and read so fast now that it's accepted in this way. And what now you can have a great movie in live action, and that character may do like a cool stance, but Olympians are not doing stances from live action movies. Olympians are doing the Ginyu Force, and they're doing like the different, they're doing the different stances that are from anime related. Adesanya is doing Rock Lee, like every from Naruto, straight up. Like you have athletes that are attaching themselves. So that's the power of anime. That's the power that could expand, because though it may not directly as diverse as it sounds, it is very diverse as a creative stand and a format. And it, because we're able to place ourselves in that image a lot easier, it will always their story will represent us, or we feel connected. So that's my little spiel of what I see anime in the
Absolutely
future.
right. That's the best thing about anime? From my point of view as an otaku, I feel that it's just it's an emotion. It's an emotion to me. I can relate to a certain character, get motivated. Especially I can mention about Naruto, Luffy. The journey to become a Hokage or the future pirates king. That's a it's like we can relate with this character. That what if I could be Naruto or I could be Luffy? Your favorite anime or your favorite manga, that stuff. And thanks for giving this much time. I know you are so busy man, but thanks again for giving me this much time, and I really enjoyed talking with you. Eventually I get so many knowledge, your experience, and that, and I hope my audience will also get some value from it. And that was the basic plan, getting valued from you. You have give us your precious time, and we shared your story, your success story, your failure story, and that's all. So any last thought you want to share with my audience?
I think, one, thank you for having me on your show. Thank you for having me on your podcast. And I'm very grateful that you reached out. On my side of things, we're just working, so we don't really get to see the effects of how people are appreciating what you're doing, sometimes. So I really take that with a lot of weight and very grateful. To your fans of the show, I would say that, one, thank you for supporting anime. Thank you for being a part of the culture. You are a part of the culture. We don't get to make anything on our side unless you guys loved it as much as you guys do, and continue to support us in that way. But honestly, for those that also, no matter the circumstance, no matter the environment that they're in, that they want to chase a dream in this world where they have to pursue art at this level, pursue art at the highest level. The beauty of anime today is that we are not really changing our style of how we make anime. We're not evolving as quickly as the other industries, which means that we're always looking for in-between animation. We're always looking for those that are drawing and can always put pen to paper. That is not being eliminated. Those that can work their ways to a point where they can have a way to digitally draw as well.
We have come to end in segment. I just want to ask you some question, some rapid fire round, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
So, first question: what's your favorite anime of all time?
Of all time, I would say Death Note as series, Princess Mononoke as
What's your favorite manga?
Oh, manga, I would say Nausicaa, the manga version of Nausicaa.
What's your hobby?
I would say writing. Yeah.
Okay, so what's your favorite city?
Tokyo.
I thought so. What's the last anime you have watched?
Solo Leveling. Actually, that's not true. I just saw The Devil May Cry, Adi Shankar's Devil May Cry.
Okay, great. A dream project you want to make?
Ooh.
I knew that was it.
I'm working on it right now. I'm actually working on it right now, so I can't say. But if I wasn't working on it, I can't. This is a tough one because anything I say right now could actually stop me from making. And maybe fans can unpack that. That'll be.
Okay. So, what's your opinion about Naruto?
Oh, one of my favorites. I grew up. Remember when I told you had to dial into the internet during that phase when I was doing net zero, dialing into internet? I would dial into the internet and get in a lot of trouble every time just to be able to download the newest episode that would come out for Shippuden and watch the newest. So when the Naruto Sasuke battle of the brothers was happening, that was one of the biggest moments of my life. And then to talk about podcasts, when we talk about grieving, when Naruto as a manga ended, I definitely cried. Definitely. And now our studio, Nartel and crew and everything, we actually have a very close relationship with Kishimoto Sensei. So it's very, very cool to kind of be in that universe. But yeah, Naruto is always one of my favorites for sure.
Did you ever, have a conversation or meeting with Masashi Kishimoto?
No, he's definitely. I mean, with the right project purpose, that could always be the case. But right now, I haven't.
It was my dream to just to have a single conversation with him, Masashi Kishimoto. And why I ask you about Naruto? Because most of my audience are Naruto and One Piece fan. So I asked about that.
I can draw Itachi in seconds.
Oh,
I could.
Great.
Itachi's one of my favorite characters. I used to love drawing. I still love Aichi.
You
I
can see
drew it.
Itachi, right?
Yeah, I see Itachi right behind
Itachi
you. But
Uchiha.
exactly,
He
yeah,
is my
Itachi.
most favorite character.
Yeah, though now I used to love saying Itachi is one of my favorite characters, but now if you think about it, is it a good sign that Itachi's our favorite characters from back in the day? Like it's kind of a twisted tale if you look about Itachi's like storyline and his bloodline. Obviously, what he did to the village for the
Uh,
village, kind of a
yeah.
weird thing that we kind of think is like interesting anti-hero. But Itachi himself is a very tragic story attached to it.
Especially he is known for his sacrifice. You know, the
Yeah.
fans call him the definition of sacrifice in Naruto anime. So many fans related to him that he sacrificed all of this for his village, for his brother. So that was a great character. I think Itachi is one of the best ever written character in Naruto.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's definitely sacrifice, but the what he sacrificed, I don't think we're spoiling anything now. The fact that he took out the whole Uchiha clan, I think, is a weird justification of sacrifice that we kind of overlook. It's a very dark
Yeah,
thing to justify.
but it's really great to see that you have still now you have remembered so many things about Naruto.
Oh, absolutely. I think Naruto's DNA is forever in my story. I think the way tales of the brotherhood, the tales of the team, the dynamics of villages, the politics between villages, the wars, the reanimation aspects, the experimentation. I think all of that is very, very powerful forms of lore that we can always use for other tales. So it's something that I really attach to naturally as a kid, now more than ever.
Can I ask you some question about Naruto?
Of course, please.
What's your top 5 character in Naruto?
Oh, okay.
It's really tough, I know.
No, I mean, and I feel like we all deliberate as a story. I mean, obviously I love Itachi, I think Kakashi is my number one because I think Kakashi is the silent king, he's the silent supporter. He's the kingmaker, which I think Kakashi's personality and Kakashi's mentality of what progress is for a nation is what I believe is true. Where education matters. So someone as crazy and talented and powerful as Kakashi decides to be a teacher. Think about that.
And he has
Right.
done a great job as a Hokage. I think he's the best Hokage in Konoha. He was.
Right, very short-lived, but even though he could have been that much earlier, but also with special ops. I mean, I would say specifically Anbu Kakashi is like my number one character.
Yeah.
Anbu Kakashi.
Anbu
The
Kakashi
learning.
goated.
He's relevant to all of us. He's like everybody that wants to be that Kakashi, who wants to see the Kakashi how he ended up, also has to acknowledge that he went through his Anbu days where he saw the most atrocious side of war than anyone, and he had to be that executioner despite the orders, and then had to defy that execution in order to realize that independence comes from real personality of those that you thrive good. And that in itself is kind of a very strong Bangladeshi story.
So true. And now I feels like we could have Naruto conversation for 3 or 4 hours. A whole day we can. So your number one is Kakashi then.
Kakashi, and then I'll speed through the other ones. I would say number 2 would be Itachi. Number 3 is Jiraiya. I love Jiraiya. I think the whimsical mage sage is definitely a beautiful, and his story is a story of love, right? So I think that's a thing. This is a weird and controversial answer, but Madara is such a crazy character because he's like, in terms of level dynamics, he's the one character that actually made sense. The more powerful he got, it was like you learned about Bumblebee, and you learned about every nation, everybody's power levels, and how much stronger some are than the others. And then there's Uchiha Madara, right?
Yes.
And then he comes and he just annihilates everyone in within seconds, right? Like then so that character creation was demonstration to me of something cool that I didn't know you could do. So Uchiha Madara is number 4, and number 5. It might be just because it's true, but Rock Lee, right? I think Lee in general is like the guy he's Naruto's story, right? And I think Naruto definitely
He shows
is
us
strong.
hard work can really beat talent. Shows us.
Right, because like he shows exactly what we talked about in our last podcast, which is like your mentality is everything. Because he just saw the positives, and he had the right mentor, and he had the right strategy, and he never knew when the goal was, but he understood that if he just continued to try at it, he's gonna get better and better to a point where people were like, oh, he is someone. He's a force to be reckoned. So I think that's a very strong story. I think we can all aspire to be kings, but really the real story, the real champions to me are the ones that try every day after waking, right? That you get to wake up, you get to keep trying. And I think that's what he.
So, yeah, did you watch One Piece?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, watch my. Yeah, that one's like just the vast storytelling of everything is just a masterclass, and we're just lucky to be alive during a time that One Piece exists. Really, is kind of how it is. Like Oda Sensei is a genius for sure, but he's a guy who showed us how genius is made, not how geniuses are born. Like I think he created something, and to keep it going for as long as he did is just an evident quality of what life is in general that he's showing us, which is if your life feels like an adventure, and if your life feels like you're with this crew that you really enjoy, then that's all you really need, you know. And though you may never achieve that goal of getting all the riches in the world, just trying to get there, you're having an amazing time. And I think that's, and you know, lots of trials and tribulations, but like that's
Who is your favorite manga writer?
mangaka, someone that I've actually exchanged creatively with, and I think it's a pairing. It's Oba and Obata Sensei of Death Note, and I think the reason is because they're thinking about so much create, and I think I love the intentionality of it, because when they create something, they tie up all the loose ends, right, and they leave some that have the potential to be otherworldly and somewhat immense in scale, but they really complete a story from start to finish, and I think that's really hard to do. So I give them a lot of credit, and I have a lot of reverence.
Say that is there any possibility that there could be any other anime, creating a craze like One Piece? I don't think so. Or
It's hard. It's so hard because One Piece is kind of a gem in the sense that it started in a time where it was massively consumed by fans that knew One Piece that the world did not, when the world did not know what One Piece is, and then it evolved into a time when One Piece became an unstoppable force, a world record breaker, a household name. So the way to replicate One Piece, or to say that something is like very close to One Piece, would mean that it would need to have the longevity of starting a story at today's time when everybody knows about anime, and then grows to evolve in a time where it supersedes creators and live action and the industry in general. So I think it's possible, but it just takes the right genius. Like I think Demon Slayer has a little bit of the ability, but because Demon Slayer's execution standards are so high, the time it will take to go as far as One Piece will be much longer than pieces go as far as they. So yeah, so it's an evolutionary thing that you have to replicate how it was made from start to finish, and that's going to be hard to replicate. You know, that's going to be hard to do.
For so many fans, One Piece is a journey. Obviously, Naruto. There is always a debate that who is anime is better, Naruto or One Piece. But the era of Naruto is almost done. Boruto did not get this much popularized like Naruto fans. So One Piece is one of my favorite anime, and I also have academic pressure. But I don't miss any single episode of One Piece. Did you still watch
it's
One
a beautiful
Piece?
thing. Yeah, which means that you saw the episodes that we animate. Great. Yeah. So no, One Piece is kind of a legend. My first project was with Toei, so like working with Toei has been we have another Toei project right now, so it's like really cool to kind of be a part of that fabric, be a part of like that world where the One Piece of the world is great. I would say the only thing that combats like the legacy of One Piece, maybe greater than One Piece, would be Dragon Ball Z, because Dragon Ball Z kind of relies in the hearts of they kind of did it at the level where Goku and became a conversation tantamount to like DC and Marvel, right? So like it really, Dragon Ball Z almost was a genre in its own right. Came out, right? It was like, do you watch Dragon Ball Z? It was always a question back then of like, are you a Dragon Ball Z fan? It was never a question of are you an anime, right? Now it's a question of are you an anime? But back then, Dragon Ball Z was anime.
Yes.
And then if someone back then said, "Are you a One Piece fan?" That'd be like, "Oh, you know about One, you know about One Piece." But now it's like One Piece, like you know about One Piece, One Piece. Oh, everyone knows about it. Like that. And Dragon Ball Z always has legacy, but we're past the era of new Dragon Ball Z, because unfortunately, rest in peace, Toriyama Sensei has passed away. So hopefully we get to make homages to his legacy, and hopefully that line that I just said may come back to me one day. But it's something that I really hope we always appreciate.
Yeah, from that point of view, I wanted to cover some of your creation and story, but I already covered that on the documentary
Yeah,
video
yeah.
so much that I didn't mention it anyhow. But still you are a true otaku. I didn't believe, but through professionalism, time has changed. You are working on the same genre, but still, still we have remember those character, their backstories, emotion. That's means you are a true otaku.
I'll tell you, one of my biggest fears is so whenever I see newer creators like myself and newer executives like myself that get into the industry that and they weren't born in Japan and they weren't born or they didn't work in the trenches for long or at all. Maybe they were very successful in another place in the industry, Hollywood maybe, that come into trying to make anime. The question I always fear is when people start to question if they're an actual fan of anime or if they're a fan of anime in recent because it's the popular thing,
Yeah,
right?
it's also the
Which is always
profitable thing. Also the
or
profitable
the
thing.
profitable, exactly, or the profitable thing. Exactly. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Where people go, oh, we should make it because everyone's talking about it and everyone money off it. So then people start researching, oh, is this director actually an anime fan? And they're like, oh, they're somewhat of an anime fan. I guess we can accept that. But thankfully in my career, and I think it's just because of this, like you are as well, there's an authenticity that comes when you know,
Yeah.
and passion that comes when you talk about
Yes.
it, that no one's really questioned if I love anime. No,
Or
I
no.
think I think people kind of feel that, and maybe because I haven't done as many things as the others, though I hope that that always is the case, that people are like, oh yeah, he actually does love what he's making, the space. And in the smaller circles and the closed circles and the circles that I can't even talk about because they're at such a high level now, they're making a few years from now people will start to see that will continue to be the case because they'll see, oh, this is a anime studio making this. This is these are executives that know anime that make this, that actually willingly connect fans. Because you lose that connection, then you're just kind of just making things in the way that traditional Hollywood gets berated for. And then you have the potential for really bad apples like Dragon Ball Evolution, right? Like the live action adaptations of Dragon Ball where you're like, this is not made by fans of Dragon Ball Z, or really bad adaptations of other anime, versus a good adaptation of anime, which in my opinion, One Piece live action is a good
Yeah,
adaptation.
it was
Like,
really good.
yeah, Steve Maeda, who's a good friend of mine, is one of the creator showrunners of the live action show. He's a big fan of it, right? Like Matt Owens, who now takes over. I don't know him personally, but I know of his reputation of loving One Piece at a diehard fan base level.
And
So
I think that's make it near perfect. If he were just to just gain profit, he was not an One Piece fan. He never watched One Piece. He never could have done that. You have got a fair and valid point.
yeah, I mean, if you look at the Rurouni Kenshin live actions done here in Japan, beautiful. In my opinions, I think they're amazing because Rurouni Kenshin is action, and their action in the live action was John Wick worthy with a blade. It was so good. And you can't take that away. And so yeah, so I think when it's done from a place of passion and heart and fandom at a diehard level, you can't compete with creators that grew up watching anime, right? That are trying to make it at a high level. Though versus someone that just got into it that has to watch 4 seasons of it. Yeah, they made something amazing and studios will trust them to make this adaptation of this anime that they are now watching for research to see how to make. But there's things that they're missing, which is the childhood connection to it, that they have to hold themselves accountable when they're talking about, oh, can we break this canon? Will fans get mad if I break this canon? If you're wondering that, then you're not really a fan, because if you're a fan, then you'd be like, it would break my heart if I broke this canon, right?
True.
So like there's a lot of politics that we have to acknowledge, that it matters who makes the right. So I'm glad you catch that.
So next question, it's an interesting one. If you get unlimited budget, for an anime production or something like that, what would you like to make? Unlimited budget.
Unlimited budget. Okay, so unlimited budget unlimited budget for live action. I would do something super sci-fi, multiverse level, not multiverse, like the universe level, cosmic level, type of interstellar type of feature. At an animation standpoint, I would like to do something akin to Arcane. I'd love to elevate the standards that Arcane had set in animation. Many kudos to that team, because they showed what happens when you have the resources but you don't fail, because they did it really well. In my mind, I thought the painting, the storytelling, the the craftsmanship, time, the effort they put into that was just full masterclass stuff. And hats off to all of them that made that. And so that's the shoulders I'd want to stand on, with Unlimited. And of course, create but like our team's own style and unique look and own voice, not just replicate the arcane method, but just do something that is also a very unique needle in the haystack kind of animation style that has not been done before. Because I think with that kind of resource, unlimited budget, you do the R&D and actually develop it. And I'd love to do something. I think it's very possible.
Yeah, is budgeting always a problem for producer or editors?
Always for everything.
That's true. That's true. Not
There's
only.
there's not a short film, there's not a small film, there's not a big film that budgeting is not a problem. I don't know why. It's as smooth as it can go, and I've gone on some very smooth rides. There are always costs on that. You just have to figure out how to and that's kind of the part of the creating process, that once you know that you have to allot for somewhat budget that you have to worry about because you weren't expecting this, you weren't expecting the studio to flood, you weren't expecting this to not be saved, you were expecting the grain or the notes that come from the executives down at the studio level that are going to cause so much more ripple and rework, clean up in the animation space that you didn't expect because it was what they thought they wanted. That all you can account for with contingency budgets too, right? So you give yourself 5%, which are now normalized in budgeting, right? And so you give yourself that space to be able to, or 50%, 20%, give yourself that space to be able to work within that rainy day fund of that production. And even then you'll have problems. So yeah, I think that part of creating in general for entertainment and the live action animation space is the ability to maneuver around problems, monetary and production. So I think that's always going
True that.
to and then tell you how I would fix it.
Yeah, you as a fan, we wanted to, there was some unwanted
Tokyo
certain.
Ghoul. God, Tokyo Ghoul. So Tokyo
Oh.
Ghoul. So Tokyo Ghoul's manga is so prolific. It's so long. And so I think the thing I would do is, and this just happens, it's not the detriment to anybody. I don't think anyone's failed at this. I don't think it was a problem if someone messed it up. I just think it's the normal process of changing teams, changing directors, changing management. Production takes a long time. Some productions overlap into other productions where they have to go to other spaces. You have to reshuffle teams. There's just so many parts of logistics of a production that also with team members that are on board just create a different look and feel and what have you. And sometimes creative decisions like that are made at the time. I've been in that boat many times where you're like, that's the right choice. That is what fans will love. Even thinking as an otaku level fan, like that's what I think will work. And then it executes and it comes out and you think it still works. And then the fans, or sometimes even the creators see that there are some issues with it. And it's just that whenever you have to deal with time skips, you have to be very careful. So I think that in hindsight, if you look at, because we worked on Tokyo Ghoul Re as well, so it was a thing too. So I think the animation was beautiful. I think the storytelling was great for the manga side. But I think if there was an ability and there was resources, which is always the question, to be able to fill the time skip between where Tokyo Ghoul left off and Tokyo Ghoul Re picked up, I think that would really fix that problem, right? Like give it like the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood treat, give it a Brotherhood reboot-esque type of boot where the story can be told in more space and time and comfort. And I think it's tough. It's nobody's fault. It's just that the way it can be told needs resources and planning. It needs to be a good stuff. Yeah.
Got it. So our last question, and that is, what's your suggestion for new creators like me or someone who wants to follow you?
Yeah, I mean, those that somehow come across my page on the Instagram, like feel free to always, comment on anything, and I try to respond, that kind of thing. Like I try to be accessible as I can where I am always there. My advice to creators and new creators, really at this point in time is shoot your best shot, and work nonstop, right? Like just keep going, keep making, keep creating, do the job that you may not like, and do the job that you feel like will fulfill you, right? If at the same time, or if one will enable you to do the other, no matter how long it takes, don't give up on your dream. I think that's the other thing. Like I am aiming super high, and I think I'm not even close to where I want to be, right? Like I think there's so much more I want to do, and there's so many more stories I want to tell for decades more, and I know that it's a really high ambition, it's a really tough ambition, and it requires requires a lot of energy, and it requires a lot of time management. It requires a lot of scheduling, and it requires a lot of importance of my
Yeah.
personal life to be strong and healthy as well as my professional life. Like I can't give up one over the other, because they both support each other. I'm on the same boat as you. I'm in the same boat as the creator. I'm working every day. I'm working hard every
That
day.
was a humble answer, I guess.
Yeah, and no, but it's to the truth. I don't feel, you don't when you're on the path and you're on the journey, you don't want to feel like you finished the collection, right? Love collecting. Don't like the feeling or the idea that the collection is almost finished, or we collect of memories, of skills, of things we want to do. And I would say for those that are creating, figure out which are your best stories that you want to tell, your best adaptations, your best stories that you love, that you want to bring to life in a different format, and really hone in on bringing those to life and find out every single pathway to do it and try to do it as long as it takes. Don't let time pressure you. Don't let others pressure you. Don't compare. Don't keep score. Don't worry about the negativity. If someone hates, that's a good sign. That means you're doing something right, like, and just keep staying
That was a
positive and
good
keep
line.
yeah. Well, it's true. I think I stole it from the actual line, which is like, if you got haters, you're doing something right, so it's the truth. And I don't even know if there are haters, because you don't even pay attention to them. So like there are just ways and worlds and people pick apart little things here and there, and you just don't give it light. You just kind of point your flashlight forward, because what are you doing, walking into the darkness forward with your flashlight pointing backwards? So it doesn't make any sense.
Best thing I have earned from you is that still you are so humble and kind. That's a great thing. That's a great way human. And this
I've been
part,
told it's the Bangladeshi way. I mean, no, I think it is essential. I've met some of the biggest heroes of my life. There's no reason to name them, but like I've met some of the biggest people that I never thought I'd ever meet in my life. I've met some of the greatest artists that I've veered and grew up listening to, watching, what have you in my life. And when you meet them and you talk to them normally, not as a fan, but as a human, and they're talking to you as a human back, and you're talking to them sometimes creatively at a level that you can actually play creative tennis, like ball back and forth, you realize that all of the vanity, all the aspects of what it means to be this thing, it's not there. Nobody's playing at that level. Nobody's thinking like that. I think everyone's just trying to be like, oh, that's cool, that's dope, I love that work, that's great, dude, that was great, how can we collaborate one time? It's like, it's such a interesting area to be in when the competition is not about pulling someone down to get up to higher. Like, think and you don't have to be that way down there either. You definitely just keep climbing and climbing and climbing and help people up and try to raise the tide. And I think that's really the way it worked for me. That's the way it worked for those heroes of mine that I've met, and those that I don't really attach to, I don't care, like I don't really too much thought about how they got, so that's kind of the fabric of how it needs to be. But I wasn't lying. I've been told that Bangladeshis are quite humble, and and they get to a certain place too. So I can only aspire to those that are doing so much more amazing things, and more on their level too. So it's so cool to see.
so I shared one of my friends. You can say best friend. What was the first impression of her after seeing
No idea.
it? She says she got a huge crush on.
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
She's just saying, "Wow, what an handsome guy," and she was more excited than me. You are having a podcast where she accept that. I have done so many work. I have gave so many viral videos. So many, closely enough 2 lakh or 3 lakh view. She didn't appreciate this at all. Okay, that's normal thing. But I am doing podcast with you, and she is so happy. Whoa, you are doing something great. Now you are talking, man. Now that's something.
I appreciate that. I mean, well, thank you. And I appreciate those. That's a high praise for me. So I appreciate that. Ultimately, glad to do it. I'm glad to and help where I can.
And we have, thanks for your time. I know this has been a long, maybe 2 or 3 hours.
I lost track of time. Actually, I have no idea. Yeah, I just blocked whatever time you told me. So I just kind of.
Eventually, I forgot about the time says, talking about otakus, anime stuff, something like that. Time is relative.
For sure. When it comes to Naruto, I lose track of everything. I'm in my own. I feel like I've done genjutsu myself, sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's always fun to kind of chop it up and see how those stories that I got to grow up with, that again, like my parents had no idea, like, what is that you're reading? What is that you're watching? Like, it doesn't make any sense. and you really just come down to it's so cool for me to hear what it means to you, you know, like it's cool to see how Itachi attached to you, you know, like that's its own language, you know. That's the cool thing that we get to be a part of. I mean, you're definitely a part of it, you know. You definitely should feel like you're a part of it when you watch on, talk about it, and get spread love for it. So that's so cool that you're.
But I know you are so busy, man. You have a lot of work, you know, lots of things to handle. But still, if you ever feel that you are free, just give me. We'll
Sounds
have a conversation again. You know, we'll do a dedicated Naruto podcast, completely. Two Naruto fans are embracing their feeling, you know, about Naruto and other stuff. I have a so much popular line in anime community that don't subscribe if you are not an anime fan. That's the outro from the beginning of my channel.
Well, that way you know exactly your demographic of who you have. So I guess that
Yeah, yeah.
works.
So I want you to you know, just recall this line for me.
What was it? So the line is, don't subscribe if you're not an anime fan.
Yeah. Don't subscribe to Graduate Otaku if you are not an anime fan.
Yeah, don't subscribe if you're not an anime fan. Subscribe if you are none, right? Like,
Yeah.
is
It was good. It was good. And I know he's a huge profile, so he don't need any fan following. But still, I will, you know, share his Instagram ID in my pin comment, also in description box. So please follow him if you are interested about him. And also he's just doing some great work. You can follow him to see them.
And Star Wars Visions Volume 2, that's us. If you watched Sound and Fury on Netflix, we've worked on that. The Boys Diabolical, we've worked on that. If you are a fan of The Weeknd, we did The Weeknd's music video called Snow Child, which has been really popular. We've animated that. And we've worked on many different anime from the favorites like One Piece and JoJo's, Attack on Titan, Tokyo Ghoul, like we've talked about. To those recently celebrated like Castlevania, and more, and lots more. And so yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of anime, there are chances are that we've worked on a lot of that. And if you're a fan of our direct anime, we have this summer coming a very special animation miniseries coming out with Sega, and so people will get to see some really cool things very soon. So support us on that. Always reach out and say hello. And yeah, I'm just glad that you had me on the show, man. There's not much I could do to talk us up other than if we tell good stories, and I hope you watch.
Yeah, of course. Those are some amazing works. Please follow them, and they are not just amazing. You know, they are Oscar qualified content. You guys must watch it, and please check it out.
Yeah, I mean the short films are also fun too. So if you see any of the short films online that produced or directed, or go and say hello there too as well.
So this is our podcast. আজকের ভিডিওটি এ পর্যন্তই। আশা করি তোমাদের পডকাস্ট অনেক বেশি ভালো লাগছে। আর আমি ভাইয়ার এটা আমি শেয়ার করে দিব। তোমরা অবশ্যই ফলো করবা অ্যান্ড কমেন্ট করবা যদি ভাইকে তোমরা আরো একবার চাও। ঠিক আছে, আমরা ভাইকে নিয়ে একটা ডেডিকেটেড নারুতো পডকাস্ট করার প্ল্যান করছি। দেখা যাক, তোমাদের যদি এরকম ক্রেজ আসে তাহলে আমরা সেভাবে একটা ডেডিকেটেড পডকাস্ট করব। অবভিয়াসলি ইফ ইউ হ্যাড সাম টাইম, ইউ আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড বাংলা, রাইট?
আরেকটা করতে পারি।
হ্যাঁ, এটা অনেক ভালো হয়। ইয়ে, আপনি একটু বাংলায় কথা বলেন তো দেখি, সাম
আমার
লাইন,
বাংলা
ইউ নো।
ভালো না, কিন্তু আমি আরেকটা করতে পারবো না। একটু পরে আরেকটা করতে পারবো। আমি যারা anime দেখে আমি ওদের ভালোবাসি।
হ্যাঁ, ভালোবাসি।
ভালোবাসি, কিন্তু আমার বাংলা ভালো না, বুঝতে পারি কিন্তু বলতে পারি না।
It's so natural, you know. You are born in Norway and a different country. It's tough, but still you can understand Bangla, and your Bangla accent was not that much bad.
Yeah, unless I go like Noakhali, like my dad's, and I'm like, you know?
Yeah, that was fun. So that's it, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, and of course, comment below if you want our honorable guest again. We will do a dedicated Naruto podcast. Don't subscribe if you're not an anime fan. See you in next video.
there'd be a lot of, koshto for sure.
It better, but I was so nervous, first time
No,
international
no.
celebrity, but you made me comfortable. Serious, first one half an hour I was confused. I had so many things in my mind. I couldn't speak of that pressure, but you made me comfortable, and after that I just feel that I was talking to my elder brother, or
Oh, good.
someone close to me, true otakus. Again,
Good.
আমি হয়তো ভাষায় প্রকাশ করতে পারছি না যে আমি আসলে কতটা হ্যাপি। প্লাস আপনি যদি
It's
আবার
good.
যদি ফ্রি হন, তাহলে আমরা কিন্তু আবার একটা নারুতো ডেডিকেটেড পডকাস্ট করতে পারি। অবভিয়াসলি
Yeah.
রেসপেক্ট ইউর টাইম অ্যান্ড স্কেডিউলিং, আই নো ইউ আর এ বিজি ম্যান।
Yeah, no, this is good. We should definitely do it again. Maybe if I have, I mean, definitely take some time. Obviously, things get really busy, and